What's up, guys? My name is Chris Lynn, and this is A Reseller's Life. This show is about making progress daily in e-commerce and in life. Let's get straight into it. In this episode, we're going to go over the top 10 sins that eBay sellers, Poshmark sellers, Mercari sellers make every single year, and what we can do to actually avoid them. If you like this type of content, please smash the like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. There's new episodes Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. But let's get straight into it. Number one, only selling one-offs. That's a major issue. So you can see here in my store, this is the public one I'm sharing with everybody. You can see here I have 1,544 items for sale. For you guys listening at home and not watching this, 1,544 items for sale individually, but I have 2,738 items. So that's almost two of each item when I pick it up. So that basically cuts my time in half versus people who are just selling one by one items. And the way to actually improve this is just to focus on one niche, one product, one SKU. The more narrow your focus is, the more you can work on a replenishable, because you're going to find out where the items are made. The far end of this is you actually producing your own product. And for those of you that have ever done that, it's going to take 110% of your week just to launch one product. You're not going to have time to do anything else. So the reverse also works too. If you're just finding random items, you're taking literally no time to produce the item. This is where I think reselling is really powerful, because you can just piggyback on somebody's 110 hours of work to make their one product work by just selling their product, right? So this is why people are so vicious when protecting their replenishable items. Now, these are all closeout items, meaning it's difficult for someone to go find these exact SKUs that are selling well for me because they are previous years, generations that are sold out now. That's why they were discounted to a really, really low price. To give you an idea of what these generally cost me, between $10 and $14 a pair is usually what I pay. So you can see here, they're selling between $26 and $80. It depends on the model, the SKU, and the style, the size. There's so many different variables, but that's what you need to think about if you want to focus on selling one-offs. That's the number one sin of eBay sellers, is only selling one-offs, because then you get stuck into that you have to list every single day mentality, and that's not how this works. Okay, actually, let me just add one more point to that, which is sometimes you need to sell a lot of one-offs to find replenishable items. If you stay in the same category, you will find new opportunities. I have now Chacos. I got an order of Birkenstocks. These are other popular styles that happened from me selling one-offs and running into replenishable suppliers. Okay, number two, too little time sourcing and too much time listing. So another problem with listing every single day is that you don't have time to work on getting really good at something. There's two ways I want you to combat this. One, I don't really want you to list more than 4 days a week. That's just my personal opinion. I launch listings 7 days a week, 30 a day. I'm going to do that all year. However, I only list once or twice a week, meaning I get all of them drafted in those days, and then throughout the week, I'm just launching them to keep it consistent. And it actually doesn't matter if you launch them every single day or once a week. That's not going to affect you. It's just mentally, I'm trying to build this habit, because 30 items a day times $20 profit, 365 days a year is my one thing. If I do that one thing, then everything else is just bonus. So that's how I'm treating it now. This YouTube channel, 3 videos a week, just keeping the same cadence all year. It's just easier to do it that way. So you need to do this with sourcing. You need to, in my opinion, you should spend 1 to 2 full days sourcing, not just a few hours a day. Doesn't seem to work very well. There was a study done recently about charity. People who do a little bit of charity, once a month here, or maybe once a day, they say something nice to somebody, little tiny acts of something throughout the day or throughout the year, versus like they take 1-2 week trip to go to Africa and help people and focus on charity for 2 full weeks. They seem to get more out of it. So it's kind of like, if you're going to do volunteer work once a week, go ham, go hard. And I think that definitely works with sourcing, because you get into a bit of a rhythm when you start sourcing the same thing over and over again. You start developing patterns and figuring out where stuff comes from. That's always the best question to ask people, is what happens to your inventory that doesn't sell? What happens to inventory that's stale? That's how you can get relationships going with people. Okay, number 3. This is from Derek Sivers. Hell yes or hell no. And I'll tell you what hell yes and hell no is when it comes to buying. Hell yes is it's in demand, it's weird, or it's rare, or it's useful, or popular, or small and light. These are all hell yes things because they're easy to store, easy to sell, and they're popular. Hell no would be cheap items. Like, oh, I hear people say I bought 100 pounds of house goods for 10 cents a pound. That's gonna run into some other problems that we're coming into in this list, but that's cheap, common, and convenient to buy items don't usually sell very well. You want items that are hard to get, hard to find, hard to supply, and less convenient and less common. It's very difficult to make money on common unless you have huge distribution. You have to sell a lot of $1 profit items to make it work. And to get a higher profit, you need to sell stuff that's more rare. Like, as an example, I said, if you sold jets, that's a really high profit margin. You might make $100,000 per jet, but that's very hard. You'd have to figure out the very few places that produce jets, the very few customers that buy jets, and connect those two, and it's worth that kind of profit. But if you're selling toasters, man, there's thousands of toasters sold every single day. That's difficult to get into. There's probably only 4 or 5 distributors that have been selling toasters for 30 years. Trying to break into that is requires a lot more capital, and it's very different. You can do that too, but again, it's going to require a lot of work to get into the toaster game. Okay, next is it doesn't meet your minimum profit goal. This is number 4. This is important. Stop picking up stuff that doesn't match your goal. So for me, I'd like to make $20 profit over the course of 5 months. I'll pick up an item that's less than $20 profit if I know it's going to sell faster. And that's I'm very strict on that. I'll pick up an item that sells for $5 profit if I know it'll sell within 30 days. And that gives me fodder for my crew and also helps to sell through the store overall because I'm trying to maintain 20% throughout. And on eBay, just so you guys know, I'm only aiming at a 15% sell-through rate because my ASP is creeping up. It's $51 right now. So when you try to get your ASP higher, your sell-through rate starts to drop. You'll see it's very common for people with over a $100 ASP to have 5% sell-through rate. You had that watch seller that I presented a couple of episodes ago that was hoping for a 4% sell-through rate each month. And what that means, guys, is a percentage of items that sells each month. So for this example in my store right now, of 1,500 items in this store roughly, 15% is about 0.5% a day. It's like 7.5 pairs sold. So with my type of store, you're only going to get regular sales like after you have 200 of these items. So it takes a while. Now, if you start selling cheaper items, your sell-through rate could be as high as 70% a month. There's lots of popular resellers on YouTube. They have average selling prices under $20. They usually sell half or more of their store each month because it's more people can buy their stuff. So remember, think about what your minimum profit goal is. Think about what your time is worth per hour, and that's how you come up with that. Okay, this is number 5. Too much cleaning, testing, or repairing required. If you pick up a vintage fan, as an example, fans sell for a lot of money, especially old vintage cool ones. But if you need to clean it, adjust the rust, there's like a lot of repair work. Maybe you need to repaint it. That even though it sells for $100, you may put $200 worth of time into it. So I do a $5 penalty for each category it violates. If it needs to be cleaned, it's a penalty. If it needs to be tested, it's a penalty. If it needs to be repaired, it's a penalty. So in shoes, if it's missing laces, if it has a sole that needs to be repaired, it better be hundreds of dollars MSRP on that shoe for me to even bother with that. No one would repair the sole on a pair of Skechers, as an example. Those are $20 to $30 brand new. You wouldn't put $50 worth of elbow grease into it. It doesn't make sense. So penalize yourself. If it needs repairing, cleaning, testing, make a rubric. So when you go out, you can just quickly look through your list, your checklist. And if you want to get a great book on that, the Checklist Manifesto is an amazing book about how to make lists and how important they are and how doctors use them. So if a surgeon is using a list, It's basically because it's a matter of life or death. It's the same thing with your reselling business. Why aren't you using a list when you buy something to make sure that it meets your criteria? Okay. Number 6, it takes up too much space. This is huge for most people. You need space in order to think. You can't have a cluttered workspace, cluttered home to really progress, because you need that mental real estate to work. And if your items take up too much space in your storage area, you're not going to be able to think. It's going to take too long to find your items. The largest eBay sellers all have uniform shipping policies. For me, I only ship 2 ways. It either goes first class mail or priority mail. That's it. I don't want to deal with other types of shipping because I'm focused on speed. But if you are a one-off seller, I like the Craigslist Hunter model of like $1 a pound for handling. That's fair to me. If it's a 20-pound item that takes up a lot of space, you better be, charging a $20 handling fee, and it better be worth it to the customer to put that kind of work into it. I sold a Marantz record player. Marantz is a fantastic brand, for $650. I paid $40, sold it for $650. I'd say it took me $300 in time to fix that thing. I got it. The needle didn't work. I didn't have a record to test it, so I had to go buy a record. About Sugar Hill Gang. It was a sweet record. Listen, and I actually regret selling that record player because it was such an incredible piece of art. And the sound, I don't know why it sounds different than modern electronics, but the sound was super rich. I had to take it to a special needle repair place in San Francisco, which was just some guy's house. Dropped it off there, came back a couple of days later, sounded amazing. He had also cleaned it. So it took me time to go there, come back, schedule an appointment, and it was worth it. But don't do that for a $100 item or a $50 item, because it just eats up too much of your time, too much of your space. That thing, I paid $25 for a lady at the UPS store to help me pack it because it was so fragile. It's like, I don't want any of this stuff to break on its way to the customer. I insured it for the full amount. I mean, that was a huge pain. And it also took up a huge amount of space. It took up a whole shelf. So just something to consider. Number 7, it's not liquid if you discount it. This is something that's interesting. So I kind of misclassified items buying for reselling as investments. They're not really that liquid, meaning you can't, if you have let's say a $20 Nike sweatshirt, it's not that liquid. It doesn't turn into cash that quickly. You have to discount it to like $2 for it to sell instantly because there's just so many Nike sweaters. But some items, like for example, these Merrells, I don't have to do that. I don't have to discount items to almost nothing to get rid of them. They're so popular. You just discount them a few dollars and they will sell. So if you have a limited amount of capital, it's actually counterintuitive. You should be spending more money on your inventory, not less. You should be spending $100 for something you can sell for $150, because you could discount that $150 item to $120 and get your money back instantly because it's such a good deal on a really, really popular item. If you were selling Dyson vacuum cleaners, you don't need to offer much of a discount for it to sell. Those things fly off the shelves, right? So if you're selling video games, you don't need to be more than 50 cents cheaper than your competition to move it, because so many copies sell per day. So if you're limited on money, pick stuff that's super liquid. And if you want to get a really good idea of that, you should actually just go to a pawn shop. Pawn shops only buy really liquid items like jewelry, TVs, electronics. They're not buying used clothing because used clothing takes a long time to sell. The reason why used clothing is so awesome is because of the margin. But if you don't have a lot of capital, it can be challenging to build up a large store. You need a large store, in my opinion, to sell clothing quickly. I think at least 500 items in your store to properly give yourself a chance. Okay. Number 8, no proof of previous sales. This is a big one. You find something really cool and there's no proof of previous sales. If you don't have the capital to wait on it, don't buy it, because you need that to buy something that's proof that it's going to sell. Just buy things that already sell. That sounds like really stupid advice, but it's just as straightforward as it gets. Things that already sell keep selling. So don't buy stuff with no proof of previous sales. Just spend a lot more time sourcing. The people who spend 75% of their time sourcing never have a death pile. This is really important to understand. It's the people who buy bulk or have some kind of deal with a thrift store and they're buying giant truckloads of stuff or carloads full of stuff. Those people have death piles. They have problems listing everything. They're not doing enough sorting up front. You should just be like a ninja attacking the vital organs of your inventory. And that's kind of a horrible example, but like you want to do critical hits. You want to do really, sniper like accuracy on which items sell super well. You don't want to put a bunch of junk in your store. It's really hard to fix. Having a store that's small where you're like, oh, I can't get enough inventory. That store is okay. The stores that are like, I have a whole basement full of stuff I've never listed. That store is in trouble. Okay, number 9. This is a huge sin for eBay sellers, and it's scoring a home run and then becoming lazy. So what that means is, let's say you find an item. I sold those Apple shoes for $2,500. I sold the Warhawk Air Maxes for $800. I had probably 10 $500 profit sales last year, 2019. It didn't even affect my schedule at all. I didn't even celebrate because it doesn't matter in the long game, right? It doesn't excite me selling a really cheap item or a really expensive item. It's all the same to me because it's just, I know businesses are built on base hits, and that's why like this YouTube channel has worked because I've just put out content for a long time, and I now recognize I don't need to put out an insane amount of content for this channel to grow. I just need to do my best and provide as much value as I can in a short amount of time as possible, and it will work. I just need to list $30, $20 items per day, right? I don't need to do anything massively crazy. Most people could learn how to do $10, $20 items only sourcing online, right? And if you have an internet connection and you live in the US, you can eventually learn that one skill. But you're going to have to turn off a bunch of stuff and just spend a lot of time sourcing online. If you spent 30 hours a week looking for deals online, it's not possible to not run into great deals. Okay, here's the final one. And thanks guys for sticking with me this long. If you have been here this long, I appreciate your time, and I know you guys are busy, but please smash the like button. And again, new episodes are available on iTunes and YouTube Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 6 o'clock in the morning. So number 10, irregular schedule. This is the big one. So when you look at the highest performers in the world, I would say like Olympic athletes are the highest performers. They work out on a schedule from when they decide to be an Olympian until the Olympics. Michael Phelps is like famous for training 7 days a week because he's like, most people don't do that. I'm going to be way better than everybody else. I can't work out 7 days a week, but there's other parts of my game I can work on. And he had the same life for like 10 straight years. Every single week was the same. If you have an irregular schedule, it's really hard to get into a rhythm. And that's what reselling is. It's a lifestyle. It's not a diet. It's not a temporary thing. It's not get rich quick. It's a lifestyle. If you consistently do 3 things, this is a fantastic idea. One thing that helps you stay in shape, one thing that helps you make money, one thing that helps your relationships, you're going to be killing it. The one thing, it's interesting though, reselling is like a hobby because it's cool. You get to find an end customer and get them something that's interesting. To me, I get excited about that part more than the price of the item. Giving somebody something they're looking for is a very cool concept. It's a hobby that actually makes money. That's incredible. That's like if, I'm trying to add in an activity this year, like either rock climbing or weightlifting, like a group weightlifting class, kind of like CrossFit, but I don't know if I want to join a CrossFit box. But the thing is, those kill 2 birds with 1 stone. They're fun and they also serve a purpose. Also, if you guys have been following my Instagram, I've been doing a lot of cooking. It's 2 birds with 1 stone. I'm actually saving a lot of money by not eating out. And then also, it's fun. Also, it's a lot healthier. Also, it's a lot cheaper. There's so many benefits. So it's like if you learn to cook really well, you resell as a hobby, and you have an activity with team sports, and you have a regular job and a family, I would say that's like a really healthy mix of a life. Reselling for a living requires, and this is really unpopular advice, but I think it requires between 10 and 25 grand of capital because you have to have a big enough store that things actually sell. If you look at stores that do 6 figures, They usually have 6 figures worth of stuff for sale. I mean, that seems like common sense, but it's not. Like rarely, unless you're an Amazon seller selling really, really incredible top selling items that instantly sell out, that's a totally different game. And that's more like stock trading, and you find the best, but it's like stock trading, except for it's hard to buy. When you, at least in the stock market, you can buy whatever you want of whatever company. When you're reselling, it's limited. It's like kind of like insider trading. You have to figure out how to get the hottest product. And that goes back to my number one sin, which is only selling one-offs. So I'm just going to summarize them again. And if you guys want to help out this channel, my channel is sponsored by my Reseller Field Guide. That code is in the description below. You can use code YouTube to get half off. It makes that $35. And I'm actually revamping it. So there's going to be some new videos in there with some new processes, because my processes have changed a lot in the last year. They're much better now, much faster, much cleaner, and there's less variables. But that's $35. It really helps out the channel if you pick that up. That's with code YouTube in the description below. My Reseller Field Guide is all my best videos on how to build a small business online. But here's a summary. Number 1, only selling one-off items. Number 2, spending too little time sourcing, too much time listing. Number 3, buying cheap, convenient, or common items instead of popular, weird, rare, or useful items. Number 4, buying items that don't meet your minimum profit goal. Number 5, buying items that require too much cleaning, testing, or repairing. Number 6, buying items that take up too much space. Number 7, buying items that are not liquid if you discount them. Number 8, no proof of previous sales on that item. Number 9, scoring a home run item and then being lazy for a week. So just make sure that you're consistent with your production. And then number 10, irregular schedule. This is very much like a job. So you definitely need to have a schedule. Your customers expect you to ship within a certain time, and that they expect you to list in a certain time if you're selling to a specific audience. So guys, appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Again, new episodes Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. Smash the like button, and I'll see you guys on the next episode. Take care.